So we decided door 5 last time, as I mentioned earlier. So we'll be staying with door 4.
How did you end up here? There was a man with a gas mask when you got home at night. You inhaled some white smoke and passed out.
Yes, he did.
When you woke up, you were on D-deck.
Yep.
But is that really the truth? I mean, why would two childhood friends bump into each other in a place like this?
You know what I hate most in the world? Hope, faith, love, and luck.
Do you really hate those 4 words that much?
Yeah, well, they can all betray you, you know?
How many of us are trapped on this ship?
That'd be 9.
Well, 8 now.
And what are the bracelet numbers we have?
They go from 1 to 9.
And our time limit? How many hours did we have?
0 said 9 hours.
And finally, to get out of this ship.
We need to find the door with a 9 that's hidden somewhere in the ship.
By making a team with the digital root of 9.
Lotus nodded again.
And there you have it. The number 9 is everywhere in this game. He's got a real theme of 9s for this whole thing. No wonder it's called the Nonary.
I think we've been here before.
A metal grate stretched from wall to wall. Beyond it were 2 elevators and the entrance to the kitchen.
The elevators are over there, so that means...
We went into the kitchen through that door and came out on this side.
Yep, seems like.
That means the map was right.
Looks like.
Then let's use it to plan our next move.
Next move?
Yeah, we need to decide where to go from here, don't we?
He's right. Let's get started.
From the looks of it, there are 4 possible routes. Let's just keep it simple and call them A, B, C, and D.
Seems fair.
First, A and B.
They both seem to connect to a room that looks L-shaped.
Yeah, there were 2 doors.
Yeah, we know from the alternate universe that that area is the casino.
But they were both locked. We couldn't open them.
Now, Route C. This goes all the way to the main staircase.
That means it's door 5, one of the numbered doors.
Then do you think we would meet up with the other 4 after this hallway?
Maybe.
No, I don't think we will.
Why not?
Look, there by the stairs. See how the gate is opened?
Oh yeah, that's right. It wasn't open before we went into the place.
When we went into the kitchen, it was closed. But it's open now.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
Means the others probably passed through and opened the door.
They opened it.
Most likely.
And if we take Route C, we're going backwards.
That would be pointless.
Then that means...
We go through D. All 4 looked at the map. They all looked at the staircase, its lazy curve leading down deeper into the ship.
Route D, then.
D it is.
Yup, Route D.
Then we're set.
They jogged down the stairs until they reached the C deck.
Everything looks okay here.
Let's check the next deck just to be sure.
But it's going to be flooded.
Yeah, just like I thought. D-deck is totally underwater.
Just like the bottom of the central staircase.
The water gazed back at them, its smooth surface like a great mirror.
At least the water level hasn't really changed.
Small comfort.
May as well head back to C deck.
What else is here?
There are 2 elevators over there at the top of the stairs. Just like the floor above.
Hold on. These are kind of different. See? There's a card reader on the side.
Yeah, there is.
Another strange mark.
Hey, look! It's Lotus's symbol!
Oh, Junpei, you gonna die.
Hey, check it out. It's the symbol for Lotus.
Okay.
What? See? It's got the woman symbol, and then it's got the devil horns, right?
Aw, that's not nice. You better hope to high heaven that Lotus never finds out that you said this.
Huh?
See? It's the woman symbol with horns on it. That seems like...
Yep.
Oh, ouch, 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 ouch.
You fucking deserved that. Lotus had taken hold of Junpei's hair. She began to shake him violently, and he thought he heard a low growl coming from her throat.
What was that about the mark again?
Nothing.
Such violence. Junpei began to wonder if she was not the devil itself. With an uncomfortable smile, June spoke up.
This is a Mercury symbol. The horns symbolize the wings on Hermes' staff.
Hermes, herpes, whatever. If we can't get this thing to work, these elevators aren't going anywhere.
In other words, we need a key card with the Mercury symbol on it.
Probably.
I guess we can't get on then. Let's just disregard the elevators for now.
Yep, sounds about right.
How about this hallway on the left?
Whoa, there's so many doors.
They weren't sure how many, but certainly enough to be discouraging.
Damn it. If we try and search all these, the sun's gonna go down before we've done half of them.
I think the sun already set.
I have a feeling this ship is the only thing that's going to be going down anytime soon.
Agreed.
That's even worse.
Yep.
Well, we can come back to this hallway later. Let's check the hallway on the other side, shall we?
Time to head back to the stairs.
To the right was a small hallway.
And now the right hallway.
Quickly, they headed into it. It was approximately the same size as the alcove in front of the stairs. The hallway led towards the stern, and at its end was a set of double doors.
There are doors here too. Well, I guess it's just 4 this time.
Let's open them.
All right, let's start with this one.
Junpei nodded and grabbed the one closest to him. He gave it a small tug and felt it move.
Huh, it isn't locked. I'm going to open it.
Thrilled to have found an unlocked door, he threw it open. Junpei didn't know what to make of what he saw.
What?
He simply stood, unable to speak. The others simply stared, open-mouthed. After a few long moments, Santa managed to speak.
What the hell is this? This place is huge.
A massive room stretched out in front of them, more a cavern than a room. Its vastness was oppressive, and it bore down on the 4 companions. It was not empty, however. The entire room was filled with lines upon lines of beds.
Oh, there are beds everywhere.
They were simple things, little more than pipe and thin mattresses.
Is this a hospital?
He had at last been able to put a name to the harsh scent that pervaded the room.
It definitely has the smell.
Could be. I see medicine cabinets and surgical tools.
Hey, look there. The 4 doors at the end.
3 of them were emblazoned with large single-digit numbers made with thick red paint.
The left door says 3. The second door is blank, but the third has a 7. And the rightmost door is 8. There's no doubt. They're numbered doors.
Why is the second door blank?
That's a good question.
That seems
Except we all know.
strange, don't you think?
No point worrying about it right now. Let's see if these will open first.
We already know the answer because we've played this section before, but, yeah.
Yes, that sounds like a good plan.
Junpei headed towards the doors, weaving his way between the beds. He started with door 3, on the left, and moved to the right until he reached door 8.
Oh, it's no use.
Well, of course. If it was that easy to open these doors, what would be the point of the Nonary game? We have to activate the red, or the numbered doors won't... Wait a minute.
What's wrong?
Look, the display on the red. There's nothing on it.
Huh?
Don't you remember? The red at the central staircase? If no one was inside, it said vacant.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But this one,
There's nothing on it.
right?
I wonder if it's broken.
Only one way to find out.
It's not responding.
All four took turns placing their hands over the red, but it refused to respond. They pulled at the lever, and still it did nothing. As soon as they discovered it wasn't, as they soon discovered, it wasn't only the red for door 8 that was behaving strangely.
How about the red on door 7? And door 3?
None of them are working.
What does it mean?
I knew it. They're broken. Zero sure sucks at maintenance.
No, that's impossible. You really think Zero, who prepared all of this, would make such a stupid, simple mistake?
Maybe, but that doesn't explain why this thing ain't working.
It was at that moment that they heard a voice from behind them.
I believe the bottom of the device has been removed.
They spun around to see,
Snake!
but it was more than just Snake. Ace,
Clover, 7!
Although they were glad to see one another, it wasn't terribly surprising that they had. If it had been the other party who'd opened the gate in front of the kitchen, it wasn't unreasonable that they'd bump into one another eventually. The rest of Snake's team, however, did look rather surprised.
How?
How did you end up here?
That's my line?
Perhaps we should exchange information.
After a moment of silence and surprise, everyone suddenly began to talk, desperate to exchange information. They talked about the rooms they'd been through, and how they ended up in the same place. Of course, none of it was very useful information, but that hardly mattered. They were happy to simply see one another again. Although the level of cheer varied greatly from person to person, each one of them was wearing some manner of a smile. Almost as though they had already forgotten about the death of the 9th man. No, thought Junpei. Perhaps that wasn't it. Perhaps thoughts of his death were what drove them to smile at one another. Not in a morbid or hateful way, no. The 9th man had died, but they were still alive, and that was something to be happy about. A sort of simple, uncomplicated joy, Junpei thought. The joy of being alive. Still alive. He felt sorry for the 9th man, but more than anything, Junpei was just happy to be alive.
There you have it. Our half of the story.
His part finished, Ace fell silent. For a moment, Junpei was silent in thought. Then he spoke.
Okay, let me see if I got all this straight. When you guys got here, the bases for the Reds were already gone.
And you looked all over this room, but you couldn't find anything.
So you figured that there might be something in the hallway with all the doors.
So you went and had a look?
Yeah.
And while you were looking around, you heard voices.
Uh-huh. So you followed the voices and came back here.
Indeed. And that was how we found you.
Why don't we check those 3 Reds again, just in case?
You're right. Huh. There's a long, thin gap on the bottom. I think it's a slot for something. Probably electronic.
Well, this isn't good. If the red is inactive, we can't keep going.
Well, what about that hallway over there? Isn't there anywhere else we can go?
No, there isn't. There are plenty more hospital rooms, but nothing else.
Hospital rooms. That's what's behind all those doors?
Yes. There are a number of individual rooms in addition to this large one.
There was a door at the end of the hallway, but it was locked.
There was an astrological symbol engraved near the keyhole, however. I was able to get a good feel of it. I believe it was the symbol of Jupiter.
Not again. Those goddamn things are everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
I wonder what they all mean.
For a moment, everyone was silent, deep in thought.
While we're asking what things mean, what's the deal with this room? I mean, I thought this was a cruise ship, but I can't imagine a cruise ship would have a hospital like this.
Of all people, it was 7 who answered, and with calm confidence.
Well, I figure it's probably a hospital ship. Chances are it's the Gigantic.
The Gigantic?
Junpei looked confused. So did everyone else.
What is this Gigantic?
Seven knit his brows for a moment, and then began to explain.
The Gigantic. She was a sister ship to the Titanic, built in the early 20th century. Actually, the Titanic had two sister ships, and they looked exactly the same. The Gigantic was said to be one of them. They intended to make her a passenger liner like the Titanic, but World War I began soon after the ship launched. The British Navy took her over and made her a hospital ship. At some point during the war, the Gigantic was damaged by a German mine in the Aegean Sea. She ran aground afterwards, so she didn't end up sunk. What happened to her after that? One theory going around is that a man named Lord Gourdane bought her. Seemed like he'd been one of the few to survive the Titanic sinking. That trauma turned him into some kind of obsessive collector of all things related to the Titanic. Soon enough, the guy wanted the Titanic itself. Which was impossible, of course. It's stuck at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But the Gigantic wasn't. And seeing as she was identical...
So you're saying this Lord Gourdane bought this ship?
Yeah, at least I think I...
That's impossible. No way we're in some boat that's almost 100 years old.
Pipe down, just pay attention. What, that's it? Well, have you got any proof?
Proof?
Proof that this ship is really the Gigantic.
Well, this ship's got stuff that's like the Titanic and a hospital ship. So, I just figured...
Oh, for goodness. Don't tell me that's your only reason.
No, I've got more.
Like?
Well, I mean...
Seven looked around desperately, doing everything to avoid meeting Lotus's piercing stare. He scratched his head for a moment, then gave up. Finally, he opened his mouth.
I don't know.
Lotus sighed and shook her head.
I guess your memory isn't back yet, is it?
That's the thing, though. I actually did a Google search about the Gigantic because I was curious. I wanted to see if that was actually true. It actually is, and the Gigantic is rumored to have been the name that was originally meant for what eventually became the Britannic, which is the name of the ship when it launched. Now, initially, it was the company that made the Titanic and the Olympic, which was the one before the Titanic. They denied that they had plans for naming that particular ship the Gigantic. But if you take a look at the naming scheme, it was all about size versus the Britannic. So the theory holds water. Now, the only thing that seems to be fictitious is the fact that it managed to avoid being sunk during World War I, and that the collector supposedly found it, purchased it, and then revamped it as a collection towards all things Titanic. That part is fictitious because the Britannic apparently sank. But yeah, no, it's interesting. It was interesting information for me to come across. So thank you, game. I learned something new.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey, whoa, wait a minute. Memory isn't back?
Yep, Junpei doesn't know in this universe. Junpei he felt legitimately shocked by what seemed to be new and very important information. Everyone else, however, seemed unimpressed. In fact, they all looked at Junpei as though he had said something very strange.
Yeah?
Your point being?
He decided to revise his attitude for the next question.
Wait, was I the only one that didn't know?
Everyone nodded.
Why?
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't tell you, huh? I told the rest of them before we ran into you on the stairs. I told them I couldn't remember a damn thing from before I woke up.
What?
Then, almost as if to save Junpei from further embarrassment, a bell began to ring from far away.
Huh. A bell?
It sounds like the clock in the main stairway.
Junpei counted each chime carefully.
10, 11, 12. Huh. 12.
It's midnight.
Then we've still got 6 hours left, right?
We don't have any time to screw around. Let's get going. We gotta find the missing parts for the Reds.
What do you mean, find? How on earth do you propose we do that?
We've looked everywhere in this room. That only leaves one place to look.
One?
Well, not just one.
Wait. Don't tell me you mean we need to search all of the other rooms.
Don't freak out. We've already searched 4 of them.
4 rooms?
We just have to split up the rest between the 8 of us. If each of us can do 6 rooms apiece, we'll have the other 48 rooms cleared in no time.
There are 48 other rooms?
Her earlier experiences had apparently not encouraged Lotus to trust Seven. Seven scratched his head awkwardly.
Maybe?
Alright, so everyone knows which area they're searching?
Yeah.
Yes!
Junpei was chosen to search the rooms on the starboard side, moving from fore to aft.
We'll all meet up when the clock goes off again. How about in that room with all the beds?
Yeah, sounds straightforward enough.
I'll shout if I find any of the components we need.
I hope we can find them within the time limit.
If we can't, then we'll just have to come up with another plan.
Right. Then let's do this.
The details decided, they left to begin searching. Out into the hallway they went, each to the rooms they'd been assigned. However, from far away, Junpei heard the bell ring. It did so only once. It was 1 a.m.
It's 1. I better get back to the others.
He jogged through the entrance of the large hospital room to find 6 of the others already there.
Huh?
Ace, Santa, Clover, June, Seven, and Lotus. They had gathered in front of door 9, number 8. Or perhaps, to be accurate, they had gathered in front of the red next to door number 8.
What are they doing over there?
Had one of them found the missing piece?
What happened, guys?
It was June who answered him.
Junpei, look!
She was pointing at the red. He pushed through the others until he stood in front of it. Immediately, he knew what she had meant.
Vacant?
Junpei sighed.
Come on, guys. Who was it? I thought we were supposed to yell if we found it.
Well,
Junpei wondered why she was hesitating. The others looked as confused as June, but kept their mouths shut.
What the hell? What is up with you guys?
They all knew something he didn't, and Junpei wasn't about to leave things that way. Finally, Lotus frowned and spoke.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know.
You don't know?
When I got back, it was already like this. There was no one else here. That means I was the first one back, but the missing parts were already back in the red.
What? Let me see.
Junpei looked at the bottom of the red again, just to make sure. The slot that had been open on the bottom was now covered with metal.
You're right. It's in there. What about the other 2?
They're the same.
Let me take a look.
Junpei quickly examined the other 2 boxes.
It's just as you said.
Satisfied that they were also repaired, but still very confused, he returned to the others.
Alright, I just want to be sure here. Nobody has any idea what the hell happened here, right?
Correct.
None.
Ace and June nodded silently. Seven raised his hands as if to say, "Not me," and Santa just shrugged. Only Clover lowered her head and did nothing.
Huh. Wait a minute.
That was when he noticed.
Where's Snake?
Junpei swept his eyes across the room a second time, but Snake was nowhere to be seen.
Does that mean that he found them?
I've no idea. There's nothing to suggest it, but nothing to suggest he didn't either.
I don't suppose we'll know until we can ask him in person.
Well, whatever he did or didn't do, he's pretty damn late. What the hell is he up to?
Maybe he's lost.
Yeah, well, that seems likely. Dude can't see. I don't know how he gets around in the first place.
Clover raised her head.
No! That's impossible!
Suddenly, she was shouting.
Yeah, my brother's blind, but he's got really great hearing. He can get around as well as anyone who can see. So he couldn't get lost. That's impossible!
Clover had started to shake, and the knuckles of her hands had gone white. She spun around, but before she did, Junpei noticed tears welling up in her eyes.
I'm gonna go look for him!
The words were barely out of her mouth when she began to run.
Hey, hold on, Clover. Wait!
Junpei cried out to her, but he was too slow. She kept going, and before anyone else could react, she was gone.
Well, that didn't work. Damn it. What should we do now?
Well, the red is working now.
No! We're not leaving two people behind! We should go look for them!
Oh man, this ain't good.
Oh, yes, what an excellent idea. We just wasted a bunch of time looking for some piece of electronic junk. Now let's waste some more by looking for a couple of idiots.
Then remain here if you feel you must, but there's no time. We've only 5 hours left.
Junpei and the others nodded to one another and took off at a run. In front of the stairs that led to B deck, they decided to split up.
Let's split up.
All right, I'll take this direction.
Then I shall look that way.
I'll be over here.
See you all later.
Only 2 of them were left. Those 2 were Junpei and June, who had been a few steps behind the others.
All right, we should go too.
Yes, let's go! But where should we start?
Let's see.
We will start at the casino.
How about the casino on B deck?
Okay, let's go, Junpei.
They took off up the stairs at a run. Before they knew it, they were there. So was Lotus. She was leaning against the wall, examining her nails.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
She glanced up at him, unimpressed.
Isn't it obvious? I'm looking for Snake.
I'm just not seeing it.
Really? Maybe you need to look harder.
I don't think that's the problem.
Oh, by the way, I've got a proposal for you two. Care to hear it?
Okay, we heard it last time. We're just gonna refuse and leave this time.
No, that's all right. Let's go, June.
Junpei tugged June's arm and led her quickly back towards the stairs.
Was that okay? You don't think we should have listened to her?
No, I've got a pretty good idea what her proposal would have been. We should be looking for Snake.
Huh.
Well, where should we go next?
Okay, first class cabin.
Let's go take a look at the first class cabin. It's really close.
They turned around and took off down the hallway to their left. Outside of the first class cabin, they found Clover. She was standing in front of the wall. She was staring at a meaningless point of the wall, her eyes blank. What should Junpei do? You know what? We're gonna save real quick. Save over that. No, we're not gonna go back. We are gonna talk to her here.
Are you all right?
He did his best to sound friendly, but Clover didn't respond.
Look, I know you're really worried, but...
He could think of no words to say that didn't sound hollow or fake. Junpei hesitated. Clover was so consumed by worry and fear that Junpei feared it would crush her. Her actions didn't surprise him. She had suddenly lost her brother, who she seemed to have been very close to.
No.
Okay, so this is gonna go back. So we're gonna leave her alone here. Something told Junpei that Clover probably wasn't in much of a mood to talk. He leaned over and whispered quietly to June.
Maybe we should leave her alone.
Yes, I think you're right.
They turned and walked quietly down the stairs. Clover had driven home the misery of their situation, but Junpei told himself that getting depressed would get him nowhere but depressed.
We really need to find Snake, for Clover's sake.
He did his best to push away the misery and depression and forced a smile.
So, where do you think we should go next?
Hallway with all the rooms.
Hey, why don't we go back to C deck? We can take a look at that hallway with all the rooms.
Okay, let's get going then.
Together, they ran down the stairs.
Oh, it's Ace.
Ahead of them, farther down the hallway, they spotted Ace.
Hey, Snake! Where are you? Answer me if you're there!
What should Junpei do? We'll let Ace handle it this time.
Why don't we just leave this area to Ace? We can go somewhere else.
Oops.
I don't mind. But where?
Well, let's see.
Back to the large hospital room.
Why don't we go back to the big hospital room?
Okay, let's go then.
They turned and headed back towards the large hospital room.
Hey, wait. That's...
Damn it, I keep hitting the mouse wheel and that keeps bringing up the dialogue thing. The transcript, I guess. On their way to the large hospital room, Junpei and June noticed Santa standing next to the number 3 door.
Santa?
Junpei paused. What should Junpei do? We're gonna walk away without saying anything. Because we've already done all of that. Junpei turned around and walked away from Santa.
I doubt we'd learn anything from him anyway.
Jumpy?
No, nothing. Let's go, June.
Junpei took June away and left the large hospital room. Where would they go next? We're done searching. They looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found.
Snake hasn't been anywhere we've searched.
Lotus looked around at 6 frustrated faces and spoke.
We can't keep looking for him. Wherever he is, it's not here. We need to get moving.
Junpei couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point in wasting any more time. The others seemed to be having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Finally, 7 spoke.
We don't got a choice. Lotus is right. We're not gonna find Snake. There's a problem, though. Gotta figure out who's gonna go through which door.
Yes, I have a proposal.
She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped.
Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice?
Sacrifice?
Well, perhaps it's a bit of a harsh word, but yes. You've all figured it out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through those doors. If we split into 2 teams of 4 and 3 people respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split into 2 teams of 5 and 2 people respectively, then 2 people will be left behind. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then only 1 person will be left behind.
Leaving behind 3 people with 2 teams of 4 and 3. We'll say not sure, even though she is right. Junpei wasn't quite sure that was true.
Wait a minute. 2 people get left behind if we split into 5 and 2, and 1 person is left behind if we split into 3, 3, and 1. I got that part. You can't go through the numbered doors with any less than 3 people. But if we split into 4 and 3, then why do 3 people have to be left behind?
Just run the numbers. Let's say we go through door 7 with 1, 4, 5, 6. Who's left over?
That would be 3, 7, 8.
And what's the digital root for that?
3 plus 7 plus 8 is 18, so add 1, 8, 9.
Exactly. But door 9 isn't here. That means 3, 7, 8 won't be going anywhere. That was just an example, of course. There are a lot of different combinations, but the result will always be the same. It doesn't matter which 4 it is. The 3 that are left over can't go through any of the doors. Go ahead and calculate it if you have the time. Anyway, that's how it is. Now, if we can get back to my proposal, we only have to sacrifice 1 person if we split into 3, 3, and 1.
When 7 spoke, his voice was strained.
Then you're saying we gotta decide who's gonna stay behind.
Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution. If the other 6 are to survive, then one person has to sacrifice themselves.
No, that's too cruel.
What's so cruel about it?
To just sacrifice someone like that?
Then what's your plan? Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1.
That's not what I meant. We shouldn't sacrifice anyone.
I told you, that's impossible. Wake up.
Whoa, calm down, you two.
Santa stepped between Lotus and June.
Look, what Lotus is trying to say is you should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, right?
Exactly. That's how democracy works. And for that reason, I think the only fair way to decide who will be sacrificed is through a vote. What do you think?
No, that's terrible.
I'm not asking you. Shut up.
Ouch.
What about you, Santa?
Me? Well, I agree, I guess.
All right, that's 1 vote for. Counting mine, that's 2. 7.
I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all gonna die.
Oh, glad to see you get it. If I can get 1 more vote, then it's decided. What about you, Clover?
Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. Her whole body drooped. Junpei didn't know if she'd have even heard Lotus's proposal.
Hey, Clover.
Lotus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder.
Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We've searched everywhere, but we didn't find him. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow?
Clover slowly lifted her face.
Let's go look for him together, okay? If we sacrifice 1 person, then we can go look for him. You agree with me, right?
Okay.
Clover nodded once.
The motion carries.
Lotus spun around and walked towards Junpei.
Now, let's start a vote too.
That won't be necessary.
Ace had barely spoken for Lotus's entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice or even care.
I will stay. That should solve our problem, yes?
Ace, what are you saying? No, you can't do that. That won't solve anything.
June's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her.
June, I'm afraid you may have misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself.
Huh?
I trust you. Each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me.
Whoa. There's optimistic, and then there's just nuts. Those doors only go one way. You go in, you don't come out. If we go through them.
You won't be able to return, correct?
Yeah.
True, but that will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship.
What?
Please, I beg you. Once you've escaped, come back and rescue me. Ideally, within the time limit Zero has given us.
No, that's ridiculous. There's no way we could get back in time.
Finally, Junpei could hold his tongue no longer.
We've only got 5 hours left. We don't even know where the hell we are. How on earth are we gonna find someone to come and rescue you?
Then, perhaps you would prefer to stay instead of me? Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind?
Ace's voice was dignified and without a hint of cruelty or malice. Junpei had no rebuttal.
You see, there's no other choice. Then I see we've come to our conclusion. Go on. Don't worry yourselves about me. Go, quickly.
Junpei stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lips so hard that Junpei feared she would break the skin. Santa stood against a wall, calm and aloof. 7 tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hands. Only Clover stared at Ace, with an expression Junpei was unable to decipher. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others.
Let's accept his kind offer then.
She smiled, her eyes bright. Ace answered with a smile of his own.
Good. I think this is the best for me. Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. It may be my age, but I get tired so easily these days.
As he spoke, Ace lowered himself down to the floor next to one of the beds. somewhere deep in the ship, Junpei suddenly heard the screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship were screaming. Would it really hold until their time limit was up? Already D-deck was flooded. In the sudden silence, the only sound was the sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first.
Well, what are you waiting for? We're wasting time. Why don't we hurry it up?
As if a spell had been broken, the others all began to talk at once.
You're right. We should get going. That's all we can do right now.
7.
Seriously. Honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk.
You too, Santa? I have to find my brother.
Wait, all of you. Let's just calm down and think about this. There has to be a way to get everyone out. There has to be. Right, Junpei? Say something.
Yeah, let's think. There's gotta be another way.
His words sounded hollow and fake.
Fine. Forget about it. I'll figure it out on my own.
She spun around and ran towards Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed when June grabbed his arm and pulled him.
Ace! Come on, Ace. Please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here.
Then it happened. Ace fell forward. He slumped over onto the wooden floor, his body folded in half, like a boxer out cold.
Ace!
June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up.
What happened? Ace, say something!
She shook him frantically. His eyes fluttered open.
I'm all right.
His voice was weak and slightly slurred.
How are you all right?
This.
He held out his left arm and slowly opened his hand.
A syringe?
In it was a syringe and a small vial. The vial was empty. It had only recently been emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. There was a label taped to the side of the container. It read Soporil Beta. Soporil Beta?
Soporil Beta. What does this do? Did you use this?
He did.
Yes. It's just anesthetic. I'll be fine.
Anesthetic?
I found it earlier. While we were searching the hospital rooms, I thought it might be useful later. I didn't think I'd be using it on myself.
Why did you do this?
Didn't I tell you? I'd like to take a nap. I really am. Very tired.
Junpei knew that wasn't why he'd done it. Ace had injected himself with anesthetic to forestall Junpei and June's attempts to bring him along. If he couldn't move, there was nothing they could do. He'd injected himself so that they would be forced to leave him behind.
Ace!
Is there something you want to say? I just like to sleep a little. Could you keep it down?
No! Don't, Ace! Don't fall asleep!
You feel warm. So comfortable. I think I'll have a nice dream.
Ace's eyelids drooped further and further, almost as though he were dying.
Ace! Ace!
She shook his shoulder again and again, but this time he didn't respond. Only the gentle rising and falling of his chest told them he was alive. Junpei was relieved to see that he was, in fact, still breathing.
Let's get him up on a bed.
He lifted Ace up off the floor and laid him on the bed he'd been leaning against. When Junpei turned around, Lotus gave him a look of pity.
Well, we really don't have a choice now. We can't let his sacrifice go to waste. Right?
Like you even mean that.
You say something?
No, nothing.
Felt wrong, but he had to agree. Then suddenly, Santa spoke.
Yeah, we're not done choosing yet, are we?
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, we haven't decided who's going in what door.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's true.
Enough of this screwing around. Let's decide. You first, Lotus. Which door do you want?
I want door number 8. It's the same number as my bracelet number.
Got it. You're 8. You're next, 7. Which one do you want?
I'll take 7. I can't get along with that old lady.
What? What did you just say?
Her face distorted by rage, Lotus took a step towards 7. He threw up his hands and made a face like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Who, me? I didn't say nothing.
Oh, you're gonna get it next time.
She shot him a glare that would have melted steel, then turned and stalked off.
All right, who's next?
Santa's gaze moved across the 3 people left. Finally, they stopped on Junpei.
Junpei, which door do you want?
At last. Junpei's mind was already made up. I'm picking door 3 again, just to go through the options.
I want to go through door number 3.
Nope, you can't.
Huh? Why?
Because it's impossible. If we split ourselves into 3 and 3, then we give up on going through door 3.
Why?
Bracelet numbers for the 6 of us are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 2 combinations that can go through door 3 with 3 people. 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, 8. That's it. Of course, 2 teams can't go through the same door.
I see. That means one team would get left behind.
That's right.
That doesn't happen if we go through door 7 or 8?
No, they're fine. We've got 3 options.
Santa began to explain.
Option A, have 3, 5, and 8 go through door 7, and 4, 6, 7 go through door 8. Option B, 4, 5, and 7 go through 7, and 3, 6, and 8 go through 8. Option C, 3, 6, and 7 go through 7, and 4, 5, and 8 get 8. Those are the only 3 options. That's it. At least if we want to get all 6 of us out of here.
Wait.
That was when Junpei realized. Plan A divides into 2 teams, 3, 5, 8, and 4, 6, 7. Plan B divides into 2 teams, 4, 5, 7, 3, 6, 8. Plan C divides into 2 teams, 3, 6, 7, 4, 5, 8.
But that means
There was one thing they all had in common.
5 and 6 can never be on the same team. If we want all 6 of us to go through a door, then June and I can't go into the same one.
June and Junpei had been friends when they were kids. He trusted her more than anyone else on the ship. If he chose 7 or 8, he'd be taken away from her. Was that something he was prepared to do?
Have you mulled it over enough, or do you need more time? Anyway, that's the deal, so think it over. You've got 2 choices, 7 or 8. You can't choose 3. If you choose 3, you're gonna be leaving 3 people behind to die. So what are you gonna do? 7 or 8? Time to choose.
Junpei thought hard. After thinking over it over, his conclusion was, so I picked door 8 last time. I'm gonna take the risk and choose door 3 this time. Because we all know, based off of the previous videos, that Snake is actually behind door 3.
Sorry, Santa, but I still want to go through door 3.
What? That's nuts! You've got to be crazy! Why the hell are you so obsessed with that door?
I'm just...
Junpei paused. He swallowed the words he'd been about to say.
I'm just curious about door 3. That's all.
That doesn't explain shit!
I've got a reason. I'd be happy to explain it to you if you'll just come with me.
With that, he began walking towards the door. Their curiosity likely getting the better of them, the others followed. A few of them looked a little suspicious, but Junpei told himself that wouldn't matter. He kept walking and kept silent. Eventually, they arrived at door number 3. Junpei stopped.
I'm curious about the red. 7, would you mind authenticating for me?
Why?
Please, just do it.
He stared at Junpei for a moment, then grunted and laid his palm heavily on the scanner.
Happy?
Yeah, thanks. The number 7 has been entered into the red. Next is June. Please touch the red just like 7 did.
Junpei, what are you trying to figure out?
Yep. I think
Junpei thought about his answer for a moment.
I might have found another way out.
What?
What?
Really?
That got them excited. Just as Junpei had intended.
Now please, June.
Oh, okay.
7 plus 6 equals 13. 1 and 3 equals 4. With those two numbers in the red, Junpei had what he wanted. He casually placed his own hand on the scanner, and the third asterisk blinked on. 4 and 5 equals 9.
All right, the only people who haven't authenticated now are Santa, Clover, and Lotus.
So, what's your point?
You don't get it. Think about it.
Huh?
What's the sum of your number and Clover's?
12.
And what's the digital root of that?
3.
Which is Santa's number. By the way, Lotus, what's the number that's currently in the red?
7 plus 6 plus 5 equals 18. It would be 9, right?
Yes, and what will the digital root be if you add 3 to that?
3. The door's number.
There you go.
Hey, wait a minute. What the hell are you up to?
I'm not up to anything. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the balance to shift. Santa, or Lotus and Clover. Once one of you moves, the others won't have a choice. So I'm waiting.
Junpei laid his hands almost casually on the lever.
You son of a bitch! You tricked us! All that stuff you were going on about is all bullshit!
Bullshit? Oh, I don't think so. Didn't I tell you I'd figured out another way to get out of here? This is it.
Why the hell would you do something like this?
Junpei glanced at June.
Junpei?
You did this just so you could go through the same door as June. That's it?
Santa was furious. His face was red, and flecks of spit flew from his lips as he spoke. Junpei closed his eyes calmly, and then opened them again.
So, who's it going to be? Santa, or Lotus and Clover?
Shit!
Let's go, Clover.
Huh?
Lotus leapt forward. She grabbed Clover by the sleeve and ran for Junpei in the door.
Fuck!
Caught by surprise, Santa froze for a moment, then shot forward like a bullet from a gun. Lotus had a head start, but Santa had the advantage in size and speed. Almost immediately, he passed Lotus and Clover.
Oh, no, wait!
Santa did not hesitate. He slammed his hand down on the red. I love it. This is brilliant.
This is insane! This isn't right!
He glared at Junpei, his chest heaving.
Yeah, well, you may be right.
Junpei's voice was cold, but not without effort.
But
He turned to the red and pulled the lever. With the sound of metal on metal, the door opened. It would only remain so for 9 seconds. There was no time to think.
Go.
Junpei and his 3 reluctant companions jumped into the door's gaping mouth, one after another. No sooner did they enter than an all too familiar noise sounded from their left wrists. The detonators had activated. Junpei looked back only once and saw Lotus and Clover on the other side of the closing door.
No.
They stood still, stopped where they had been when Santa reached the red. The defeat and desperation on their faces tore at Junpei's heart. Then the door closed, and they were gone. Wow, this is...
You son of a bitch, Junpei! This isn't fair!
This was fucking cold, and actually kind of fucking brilliant. Santa rounded on Junpei, lightning cracking in his eyes and his knuckles white.
Do you realize what you just did? You leave them out there, and they can't...
Shut it! That's enough!
It hadn't been Junpei that spoke, but 7.
We gotta find the dead or none of this is gonna matter!
Yeah, exactly. The clock was ticking. The dead was their only chance at survival. Unless they could find it and deactivate their detonators, the 4 of them would be...
We got less than a minute left. No time for screwing around. Get moving!
Damn it! You and I are not done yet, bastard!
Okay. I'm not even sorry. They scattered and began to scour the room. The deactivation device was nowhere to be found.
Where the hell is it?
Corridors stretched out in 3 directions, but every one was blocked off by the wall of metal. There was only one way out. One other door.
Over there! It's gotta be behind the door!
7 ran for the door, a rusty iron thing. His large hands grabbed hold of the handle and pulled.
Damn, it's pitch dark inside.
Can't see a thing!
Junpei stuck his head through the door and looked around the room.
No, wait!
Almost immediately, he spotted the blinking red light on the right wall.
I found it! The dead's right over here!
He stepped into the room.
Ugh. What? The floor's slippery!
He stopped and glanced down at his feet. What was...
Hey! What the hell are you doing?
There's something...
Get over there!
Junpei felt 7's heavy hand against his back and stumbled across the room. The other 3 piled in behind him. They all felt immediately that something was wrong. Nothing that could be easily identified, only a sense that something terrible shared the room with them. But there was no time to say so.
Quick! Get to the dead!
They all started running. In the dark, it was hard to tell where the wall was. All they could see was the tiny red light blinking at them over and over and over.
There it is!
In quick succession, they all slammed their hands against the scanner panel. Seven leaned against the wall, gulping air. As his breathing began to return to normal, he glanced at his left wrist and grunted.
It stopped. It stopped.
Junpei could hear him laughing in the dark, but could barely make out the larger man's face.
I don't think I'll ever get used to doing this.
What the...
The sound of retching came from Santa's direction.
What the hell is this smell? This is vile. I'm gonna puke.
So desperate had they been in their race to the dead that no one had noticed the horrible smell that pervaded the room. It was a terrible, nauseating stench, like burnt and rotten meat. Adrenaline had drowned it out, but now it rolled over Junpei in waves, forcing itself into his nose with every breath he took.
Oh, you're right. Oh, this is...
He felt his stomach clench and bile rise up in his throat.
Let's get the lights on first. There's a switch over here.
The light that spilled in from the door barely illuminated a small switch plate next to the door. Slowly, with the toll of the last few minutes apparent in his gait, 7 walked towards it. He stopped as he got close and extended his fingers towards the switch.
Okay, guys, I'm flipping it on.
There was a soft click as the lights came on. Just as the lights turned on, June took in a short breath and... A scream echoed through the room. Junpei's breath stopped in his throat. His heart ceased to beat. Time froze. His mind scrambled to make sense of what he saw before him.
What?
Hey. Oh, this is...
What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. A vast ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out of it like flesh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall, even as they dried to it.
Looks like an explosion.
7's voice was low and strained.
Just like the knife man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the pop of his gun.
Oh god. The bone is coming out of his left arm.
It's definitely an open fracture.
It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces.
The face is the worst.
Yeah, you can't even tell who it is.
Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. His clothes, too, were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the gray slacks.
But the clothes are...
They were all familiar to Junpei.
Is that... Snake?
Santa's voice wavered as he spoke, his mouth dry.
Oh my god.
Finally, Junpei spoke.
Why did this happen?
No!
Suddenly, June was screaming, her voice broken. It was an eerie scream full of insanity and not entirely human.
No! No! No!
She shook her head violently and grabbed fistfuls of her own hair. Junpei could hear the sound of hair tearing.
Stop! Calm down.
He grabbed her wrist.
Hey!
But as he did, June leapt up and ran toward the exit.
Please! Get me out of here! You have to let me out of here!
She screamed at the door, and her fist slammed against it with a hollow sound. Junpei could see drops of blood on her knuckles.
Why are you doing these horrible things to us? What did we do to deserve this?
June.
She screamed again, a desperate, mindless cry. Her fists flailed against the door.
Get me out of here! Please! Please! Just let me out!
June!
Junpei could watch no longer. He ran to June and wrapped his arms around her, pulling the screaming girl away from the door.
Calm down.
No! Get off of me! Let me go! Let me go!
Please! Calm down!
She scrambled for a moment, her legs skittering around the floor, but her resistance didn't last long. As suddenly as her outburst had begun, it was over. The manic energy disappeared, and her body went limp in Junpei's arms. June collapsed towards the floor, and Junpei knelt down with her. He felt drops of something warm and wet. Was she crying? A moment later, she began to sob. Her shoulders shook, and great hot tears rolled down her face like rain.
We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be alright, June. It's going to be okay, Connie.
Her name was a whisper.
I'll be here with you, okay?
She nodded once.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Junpei.
Her trembling voice pulled at Junpei's heart. He stroked her hair gently. Her face was so close to hers. The scent of her hair was nostalgic.
Do you feel better?
Yes, but I'd like to stay here for a little while at least. Junpei's body is so warm.
You might have an audience. Several minutes passed before June's tears had dried. Junpei stood up. He bent down, put his arms under June's, and helped her to her feet. They didn't speak. Neither did Seven or Santa. A person was dead. They had died in that room in a terrible way. Junpei knew there was no way he could make himself forget that. There was no way any of them could forget it. But mourning would do no good. They spread out to search the room, but each felt as if their heart was made of lead.
We better get to it.
And it's puzzle time. Okay. Alright, let's see if anything happens when I turn you on. Nope, nothing. Not even a drop. Is the pipe clogged? Those letters written in blood. LLR. Do you think that might have been some sort of dying message from Snake? Oh, there's something written on the wall, too. LLR. L. That's an upside down 4, maybe? An R? Look for R? Maybe that's what it means? Or maybe I'm just seeing... The first two symbols are kind of off. I know there's an R for sure. But, maybe I'm just seeing things that aren't there for the first two things, but damn. No, that's impossible. You saw the body. You ain't doing anything after something like that happens to you. Then this. The way the blood's dried tells you it's real old. Whoever's blood this is, it ain't Snake's. Then you're saying this blood was put here a long time ago. Yeah. An old message written in blood. It says LLR. That's where we came in. Guess it's not locked, but there ain't really any point. All that's out there is the numbered door. We can't go back to the numbered door, even if we wanted to. Ah, got a bucket. It's a tin bucket. Hey, Junpei. Do you remember back in elementary school when you spilled all of our paint across the whole classroom? They made you clean it up, and all they gave you was a sponge and a bucket, like this? Hey, come on now. Can't we just leave the past in the past? Junpei reached for the broom, and as he grabbed it, he heard a soft voice from behind him. It was June.
The rabbit hutch.
Huh?
He turned around. June still looked sadly pale, but there was a smile on her face.
Oh, you just reminded me of it. The rabbit hutch, I mean.
How did I remind you of something like that?
Jumpy and the broom. You're always playing around with the broom in front of the rabbit hutch.
I was.
Don't you remember?
Junpei stared at the broom in his hand.
You mean, you don't remember that summer either?
She looked very sad. He shook his head.
Of course I remember. How could I forget something like that? It was terrible.
They were in the 6th grade. Junpei and June had been assigned to take care of the classroom pets, the rabbits. Their chief duty was to clean the hutches every morning. On the final day of school before summer vacation began, Junpei overslept. He rushed to school and found June standing in front of the rabbit hutches. No sooner had Junpei arrived, June began to cry. He had no idea why until he looked behind her and into the rabbit hutch. The first thing he saw was blood. The hutch was filled with the dead bodies of the rabbits. Even after their teachers and friends came to see what the commotion was, June couldn't stop crying.
I just kept crying and crying until you came over. You held my hand, and you looked very serious, and you said, "Don't cry. I'm gonna catch the person who did this." After you told me that, I finally stopped crying.
Well, the real fun started after you quit crying. You told me we were gonna catch the killer together.
June smiled, and a little of the flush of life returned to her cheeks.
Then we decided that we'd ambush them.
Yeah, I remember.
The school also kept roosters and guinea pigs. Junpei and June had decided the murderer would likely return to finish off the rest of the animals. They would ambush the killer at night. Junpei and June hid behind the hutch at dusk and waited. It was a warm summer night. The quiet sound of crickets whispered through the air. As the sun went down, the stars began to wink at them from the sky. And June's Kurashiki Akane's face that night was something Junpei knew he would never forget as long as he lived.
But the murderer never showed up. We waited for them all summer vacation, and they never showed up.
Yeah, but the animals didn't get attacked either. I think all that work amounted to something, you know?
He'd felt the same way, but it was good to hear her say it.
Although, you know, if you think about it, we were probably taking on a lot more than we could handle.
What do you mean?
She looked up at him, confused.
Come on. We were just kids. If whoever killed the rabbits had actually showed up, they probably would have had a knife or something. I mean, you must have been pretty worried, right?
I wasn't worried because you were there with me.
Aww. She blushed furiously.
Well, you know, no one else wanted to take care of the animals.
Clearly embarrassed, she tried desperately to change the subject.
I was the only one who asked to do it at first.
Yeah, well, boys don't really want to bother with taking care of animals, you know?
Well, yeah, but you asked to do it after I did, didn't you?
If it wasn't the rabbits, they were going to make me do something else. You know how that school was. I figured it'd be better if I was working with somebody who wasn't too much of a loudmouth, right? Somebody who wasn't going to tell on me if I felt like blowing it off.
Really? That's why you volunteered?
Yeah, it is.
He nodded quickly and much too earnestly, then quickly looked away at something very important.
Really?
Of course.
That hadn't been the reason, of course. He had asked to take care of the rabbits so that he could be near June. But it had been so long ago, he couldn't bring himself to tell her how he'd felt back then. It would be embarrassing. He took a quick breath to clear his head and tossed the broom up and snatched it out of the air.
Well, we don't really have time to be walking down memory lane like this, you know? We've got to figure out a way out of this room. Otherwise...
Yes. I'm gonna look over there.
June nodded curtly, then turned and walked away.
I should get back to it myself. Ah! That's right. The pool of blood.
Junpei turned around and looked at the room. At Snake's body. Chunks of flesh and organs still lay on the floor.
Going on and on about old times right next to a corpse? What were we doing? Well, maybe it was because we're in this mess.
Despite such a situation, or perhaps because of it, the mind turned to the farthest thing from death that it could find. Still, Junpei couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt at wanting so desperately to live when Snake lay dead before him.
I have to survive, no matter the cost. I need to make sure she gets out too.
As he stared at the clumps of blackened flesh, all Junpei could think of was how much he wanted to live. Toilet paper. A wooden box. There's something in there. Luminol. What the hell is this thing? Some kind of spray bottle? There's something written on it. Lumen... Can't read anything else. The label's all faded. Let me see that. He just grabbed it from him. That wasn't very nice. Oh, this is luminol. You know, forensic guys use it at crime scenes. Oh yeah, that stuff that goes blue when you spray it on blood? Even if the blood's been wiped off, it still glows. What do you think this is? Looks like tar. It's kind of sticky. I don't think you can wipe it off. I doubt just pouring some water on it's gonna help much either. What about hot water? Hot water? If we had some really hot water, like boiling hot, then maybe that would wash it off. And that's why I have the bucket. It's a water tank for a toilet. I've seen a lot of OC guys try and hide a piece in something like that. Usually for a 187 or something, guess they think it's clever. Don't know when they figure out everybody else thinks it's clever too. Huh? I mean, I know peace, but what's OC? Organized crime. What is that? Some kind of police slang? Huh? Probably. Huh? What'd I say? Why does he look all sad now? That's not really important right now, guys. Let's just check it all out, okay? Well, he's not wasting any time. Screwdriver? Screwdriver. We can unscrew things with this. Was there something we needed to unscrew somewhere? Toilet's tank. There's nothing in it. Which means we can't flush it. Kinda hard to flush a toilet without water. There's some toilet paper on the shelf. dividing wall that separates the toilets. There's nothing in the toilet. If there was, that'd be gross. There might be something in the tank, you know? Let's open that shit up. A red key card. Ah, no, I wanted to see that. It's a red card. Probably a key card. Do you remember if you saw a card reader anywhere around here? Look for the toilet tank. I already checked all 3 toilets, you know. Nothing unusual here. The red light's on, Junpei. Okay, so I guess I need that. It's a thermometer. Can you get it off? Nope. It's screwed onto the wall. Okay.
Hey, Junpei,
Going back to novel, please.
you know why thermometers only go up to 107 degrees Fahrenheit?
Junpei answered without taking his eyes off the screw.
No, I can't say I ever thought about that.
At 107 degrees, the cells in the human body start to die, and the organs begin to shut down. The proteins in your cells start to harden.
That's not a pleasant thought at all.
It's like when you hard-boil an egg. Even if you cool it down afterwards, it won't go back to being a raw egg.
Yeah.
In other words, it's dead. That's why thermometers don't go past 107. There's no point.
Why had Santa brought that up? Junpei wondered.
Oh yeah?
He continued to work at the screw.
But it's pretty rare for a fever to get that high. Even viruses and stuff don't usually drive the body temperature up to 107. Of course, there are other external things that could.
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, let's see. Something like getting locked in a sauna, or getting thrown into an incinerator and burnt to death.
Yeah, I guess that would get a little hotter than 107 degrees Fahrenheit.
Junpei gave a short, barking laugh. A moment later, the screw fell off. With a small tug, Junpei pulled the thermometer from the wall.
All right, I got it!
He looked up and saw Santa glaring at a blank section of the wall.
Huh? What's up?
Nothing. Forget about it.
He's still pissed. Santa spun around and walked off, away from Junpei.
What was that all about?
But as Junpei watched him go, he didn't look angry. He looked very, very sad. Oh, okay. Ah! There's a piece of paper tied to the pipe with a wire. Notice drainage valve operation. Please do not flush the water in these pipes. Doing so may cause the drain to overflow. Looks like the flow of the water can be controlled with these handles. We can't put any water through the pipe on the right, though. If we do that, it'll start overflowing from the drain. Yeah. If I can get this hot water on the thermometer, then maybe. Alright, thermometer, get this party started. Yup, looks like that's doing the trick. There goes the cage. And now it's on the open mark. Huh? Well, it opened. What's this? Looks like there's a piece of paper in here. 957 plus. That means you're supposed to add something to 957, doesn't it? Well, yeah, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. The problem is what to add. Good question. Old message written in blood. Says LLR. Wait, you don't really think we're supposed to use the luminol here, do you? Well, yeah, it does seem kind of weird to use it here. But maybe I should try it just in case. Okay, I've sprayed the luminol on the wall. What's next? Ah! LLR, oh, left, left, right, left. Okay. Left, left, right, left, right, left. Well, I did what it said on the wall. Wonder if it actually did anything. Hey, the strain's acting up. What the hell did you do? I just messed with the valves a little. Nothing big. Ah. Junpei, the card is floating. Looks like the water floated the card up out of the drain. Food card is floating in the water. Yeah, I get that. Must be water flowing through the pipe on the right. There's water pouring out of the drain. Ah, the Mercury card! It's the blue key card. This is, the symbol for Mercury, isn't it? There was an elevator right outside of the big hospital room. I think that same symbol was on the card reader next to it. That's right! I guess that means we're not supposed to use this card in this room. Do you really think so? You don't think maybe we need it for this room and for the elevator? Pouring out of the drain. Nothing else interesting here. Great job, Junpei! Both of the lights are on now. Now, you just need to put in the password. Both lights are on. We should be able to enter the password now. What's with the E and C keys? E means enter and C means clear, I think. So after you put in the password, hit E. If you screw up, hit C. Uh-oh. Really hot water comes out of the shower. I get the feeling it might still be useful for something else. Maybe I can use the shower here to fill the bucket up with hot water. Hey, 7, could you turn on the showers? I'm gonna put the bucket under the head. Okay, sure thing. Nice. Oh yeah, because there's that toilet. The one with the thing in it. There's something that looks like tar inside the toilet bowl. If I flush the hot water from the bucket, that should clean it up. Oh, okay. Back. Alright, so I just pour the hot water into this tank and looks like you filled it. Now you should be able to flush it, right? There's probably a handle somewhere on the tank that you can pull. You think so? Seriously? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Alright, let's flush the hot water. Well, there it goes. Just like the toilet should work. Ah, okay. So, 957 plus 185. Okay, I think I have the answer. Well, we'll see. No, my math is right. But how is that not right? Oh, maybe I need to... That stuff's washed off. Looks like that writing was numbers, see? 185 equals... What is this? You got me. Looks like numbers. Maybe now it'll work? No. Oh. Dirt we flushed out the toilet settled to the bottom of the bowl. Okay. So now what? Chunks of pinkish meat are splattered across the floor. Snake, why did this happen to you? Damn, I just can't. There's water flowing out of the drain where we found the key card. Come on, man, I said I already checked them. What, you don't trust me? Nothing unusual about this toilet, thank God. Tank where the red card was. Nothing here now. The light bulbs provide light for this room. Okay, maybe I'm supposed to use the luminol somewhere else. Nope, the luminol, I've used it. Thick pipe that stretches across the floor. Oh! What if I wrap the toilet paper around the broom? Okay. What did that do? Oh, so you wrap the toilet paper around the broom, huh? Looks like the symbol lined up perfectly. Says 634 plus... Oh! Three, 4, 1, 8, 5, 9, 5, 7. Okay, so let's see what that means. 634. Okay. 957 plus 634 plus 185. So maybe it's 1776. Maybe that's what it is. I was missing a number of the equation. 1776. Nice, got it. And we are out of here. Yippee!